Hi guys, so Kemi Badenoch once again asked us to trust her government over the Canadian High Commissioner when it came to trade talks post-Brexit. The Business Secretary was laughed at in the House of Commons on Thursday when she once again pushed the line that her government is engaging with the Canadian administration on trade talks which have in reality collapsed. She is desperate to get something going before the general election so that Brexiteers can claim that an FTA with the North American country has been achieved. But this just shows how unprofessional Badenoch and her bunch are.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last month, the Secretary of State said at the dispatch box that she could state explicitly that trade talks with Canada had not broken down. However, the Canadian High Commission has since contradicted this in writing, saying neither negotiations nor technical discussions with respect to any of the outstanding issues have occurred since the UK unilaterally broke them off on January 25th. Mr. Speaker, I just want to know who is telling the truth.
Secretary of State.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very happy to expand on what I said last time I was at the dispatch box on this topic, and I will repeat that our engagement with Canada on trade issues has been extensive across multiple government departments covering the FTA, cheese quotas and rules of origins. On 25th of January, the UK confirmed to Canada that we would pause FTA talks on the basis that cheese access had been removed and that Canada had signalled rules of origin provisions would not be extended. This is how negotiations work. I can tell him there was a meeting on the 8th of February between the Foreign Secretary and his Canadian counterpart where the cheese issue was discussed. I myself raised cheese and rules of origin directly with Canadians in Abu Dhabi last week. But what I must say to him is that chasing headlines on the basis of things that he's been told by the people we are negotiating with is not helpful to achieving the outcomes which our businesses, farmers and auto industry want to see.
Jonathan Reynolds.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That was a lot of words to say. I believe the Canadian High Commission were correct with the answer that they gave. But can I ask an important question about the proposed UK carbon border adjustment mechanism? Because on this side of the House, we very much support the introduction of a UK CBAM, but we are concerned the government will do so a year after the EU, resulting in the UK potentially being flooded with carbon-intensive products that would originally be destined for Europe, including steel, cement and fertiliser. Can I ask if the government recognises this danger, and if it does so, what is their plan?
Secretary of State.
But Mr. Speaker, just on the first point, if he still thinks that he wants to believe Canada before the UK, that is his business, but we...
Oh my goodness, this is pathetic. This is embarrassing. Like, if you want to believe Canada over the UK government, if you want to believe Canada over Brexiteers, if you want to believe Canada over Kemi Badenoch, the Brexiteer, who has been lying on a number of occasions, who are you going to believe? Canada, who have no reason to lie? You know, this would be embarrassing for the High Commissioner if it turned out that he was lying. What would he gain from lying? Like, the Brexiteers and Kemi Badenoch and others can lie in Parliament. We've seen it on a number of occasions. So it's perfectly okay for them to lie because they can get away with it. But there would be serious consequences for the Canadian High Commissioner if he lied. So who are we going to trust? People who have lied in order to further their careers, or the Canadian High Commissioner? Okay. Notice that she didn't say that he was lying. She didn't say that the Canadian government were lying. She said, who are you going to believe, the Canadians or us? And also notice that she tried to suggest, well, you know, asking these questions undermines our ability to negotiate, which is a pile of crap. We heard it before when it came to the FTA with the European Union. You know, the Brexiteers, Lord Frost, Boris Johnson and the administration at the time were trying to blame the Labour Party and trying to blame opposition parties for questioning these things, because as soon as you start asking questions, you're undermining our position with the European Union. You're helping the European Union in these negotiations, which is a pile of crap. Okay, once again, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. You know, the government ministers are there to be held to account. They're never truly held to account, but the job of the opposition is to ask them questions. And they're supposed to at least answer some of those questions. They don't really, but you know, that's the problem of Parliament. But to suggest that you raising this issue that the High Commissioner has said that you have unilaterally suspended talks is helping the Canadians, well, why didn't you just come out and say that he was telling lies? Of course you won't do that, because you know you can't get away with that. Because as soon as you'd say, well, the High Commissioner was telling lies, then you'd actually have to provide evidence. Now, you can do it in Parliament, but it'd be extremely embarrassing for the British government if they were lying about the Canadian government. And of course, the Canadians would respond by saying, well, why are we going to enter into negotiations with somebody who's dishonest? You know, you were trying to break international law in a limited and specific way in the past. Why should we trust you this time? Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.